the most unsettling thing you've seen someone bring to show and tell? I was picking up my daughter from elementary school when the principal pulled me aside. Mrs. Newman, we need to discuss what Naima brought for show and tell today. My stomach dropped. Naima was 7 and had been secretive about what she'd packed in her backpack that morning. She'd insisted it was a surprise and I'd been running late for work, so I hadn't pressed the issue. What did she bring? Principal Braxton led me to her office where Naima sat swinging her legs, looking perfectly pleased with herself. On the desk was a small wooden box I recognized from our attic. My grandmother's jewelry box that I thought was locked in storage. She brought what she claims are her great-great-grandmother's teeth. I stared at the open box. Inside, nestled in faded velvet, were indeed human teeth, 6 of them, yellowed with age. Each had a small tag attached with dates written in my grandmother's careful handwriting. 1943, 1951, 1958, 1962, 1967, 1971. Naima, where did you get this? From the secret room in our basement, behind the water heater. We didn't have a secret room. Our basement was unfinished concrete and exposed pipes. I'd been down there countless times doing laundry. There was nothing behind the water heater except wall. She told quite a story to her class, Principal Braxton continued, about how these teeth belonged to people who disappeared, how her great-great-grandmother was a detective who solved mysteries. Naima nodded enthusiastically. She caught bad people and kept their teeth as evidence. I apologized profusely and took the box. At home, I went straight to the basement with Naima trailing behind. She pushed past me and pressed on what looked like a normal wall panel. It swung inward, revealing a narrow space I'd never known existed. Inside were filing cabinets, photo albums, and dozens more small boxes. The walls were covered with newspaper clippings, photos, and handwritten notes. Everything dated from the 1940s through the 1970s. My grandmother's name appeared on several documents. See, I told you, Naima said. Grandma Sage was a detective, but looking closer, I realized this wasn't detective work. These were missing person cases, unsolved disappearances, and each box of teeth corresponded to a name on the wall. People who'd vanished without explanation in our small town over 30 years. One album contained photos of my grandmother with various people, normal-looking snapshots at diners, parks, and shops, but each person in the photos had a red X drawn over their face, the same people whose names were on the tooth boxes. Naima, how long have you known about this room? Since we moved in. The lady told me about it. What lady? The one who lives down here. She's very old. She said she's been waiting for someone to find her work. My blood went cold. We'd been in this house for 3 years, just Naima and me after the divorce. I found a leather journal and opened it. My grandmother's handwriting filled every page. Names, dates, locations, but these weren't case notes. They were confessions. Detailed accounts of how she'd stalked people who'd wronged her or her family, how she'd planned their disappearances. My grandmother who'd made cookies and taught me to knit. She'd been hunting people for sport, and I'd never known. The lady says I'm just like Grandma Sage, Naima announced. She's teaching me things. I grabbed Naima's hand and headed for the stairs. We needed to leave. Call the police. Figure out what to do about the evidence of multiple murders hidden in our home. But Naima pulled back. We can't leave yet. The lady hasn't shown me everything. There is no lady Naima. It's just us here. Naima smiled the way children do when adults miss something obvious. She's right behind you. I turned around. The basement was empty except for washing machines and storage boxes, but the temperature had dropped noticeably and I smelled something floral. My grandmother's perfume. She says you're not ready to understand, but I am. That's why she picked me. I dragged Naima upstairs and locked the basement door. My hands shook as I called my mother, demanding to know about Grandma Sage. Mom was quiet for a long time before answering. I hoped you'd never find that room. We sealed it when she died. Promised to keep her secrets. You knew? You knew she was a serial killer? She wasn't a killer. She was protecting our family. Every person she took had hurt one of us. The man who assaulted your aunt. The woman who destroyed your grandfather's business. The teacher who molested children. She handled things her way. And the teeth? Proof. In case anyone ever doubted her work was justified. I hung up, horrified. My entire family had known and let me raise my daughter in a house containing evidence of murders. And now Naima was talking to someone who wasn't there, learning family traditions I'd never wanted passed down. That night I started packing. We'd stay in a hotel until I figured out next steps. But when I went to get Naima, her room was empty. Her window was closed and locked. No sign of struggle. Just gone. I ran through the house screaming her name. Finally, I heard humming from the basement. The door I'd locked was standing open. I crept down the stairs and found Naima in the secret room, carefully arranging items on a shelf. The lady says it's time to start my collection, she said without turning around. She then held up a small wooden box, newly labeled with today's date. Inside was a fresh tooth, still pink at the root, adult-sized. I noticed blood on Naima's school uniform. Naima, whose tooth is that? Full story on channel linked below.